Happy Labor Day, everybody, where we celebrate everyone who makes this country, the United States of America, greatest country in the history of the world, run. Started by Grover Cleveland way back in the 1800s. I believe the only president, well, the first president who was elected, sat out a term and came back, like Donald J. Trump. Labor Day. So we want to thank everyone who grabs that lunch pail, gets up at 4, 5, 6 a.m., and gets after it 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. Want to hit the Thank You to America from Alabama from their great song, 40-hour week for a living. Here we go.
Hello, America. Let me thank you for your time.
Yes, we want to thank everyone on this Labor Day for their time, dedication of that. We'll catch a little bit more of this in the show here in a bit and really get into depth on Labor Day and what it means and what it's going to mean in the future. Absolutely horrific police chase scene. This happened in Malibu. A mom was pulled out of her car in a parking lot. Her three young children were in. This lunatic takes off in the car. And this is an absolutely horrific crash scene. ABC 7 caught it. Here we go.
Officers, LA County Sheriff with the knife. The driver loses control right into the hillside there at a major intersection. That's going to be Canaan Doom Road. And the driver is now jumping out of the vehicle. There's two kids inside that vehicle. Okay, he's running. He's on the run. They're going to chase him up this embankment here.
So there's that horrific scene they're in Malibu. The dude jumped out. They eventually got him. Thank goodness he's in custody. There were actually three kids. They are out of the hospital now, as the report came out. So thank goodness for that. But as I've said, we got to rethink these whole chase scenes all around the board. They're just getting too far out of control, as they say. This one for Labor Day, and we'll get into this story in a little bit. For all of you on Labor Day, Trump touts worker first economy in Labor Day with 10 trillion in new investments. And of course, he was spotted heading with his family to the golf outing on Saturday. So all the dumb rumors were just that. 10 trillion. We'll get into that also a little bit later when we focus in on Labor Day. Another one, dash cam video shows suspected bike thief running from police in Monrovia. ABC 7 report.
This new dashcam video captured the dramatic moments police in Monrovia were chasing a suspected bicycle thief. The man abandoned the bike at Monrovia High School and ran away, but police say he was no match for former track star Officer Lee, who quickly caught.
Good job, Officer Lee, the track star. Nabbed the suspected bike thief. And we can be much more grateful for that This one, and this is why you should be relaxing. Hopefully, you had a good vacation. Used to be school started the next day, Tuesday, instead of 1st of August. Kudos to this family who junked all their devices. Well, they didn't junk them. They put all their devices away, spent a weekend without cell phones in the San Bernardino Mountains. No screens, no devices. They focused on games, conversation, and hiking. Holy cow. Games, conversation, and hiking. You know, it wasn't that long ago. That's what Labor Day weekend or going on a vacation meant. You went up to Yosemite and there were no phone. Well, there was one pay phone. There were no phones or TV service or anything practically. You were just with the beauty of that great park in California. And there's a family who's got their act together. No electronic devices, having quality family time, doing what they should be doing, exercising their minds and bodies and letting it rip on a vacation instead of going, wonder if somebody said something about me on social media. Rverside cops have an investigation going on. Looks like weed or weed products were being sold in Riverside schools. No kidding. Who would have guessed this? The great pillar of education, Riverside, the crime syndicate, and California schools all. Death investigation is underway. Their body was removed from the lake at MacArthur Park in Los Angeles Monday. Hopefully we'll have some updates on that. We're going to get into this with Dr. Kelly, but Donald J. may be turning on the whole Operation Warp Speed, vaccine, Pfizer, with the tweet he put out today. We'll get more into that when Dr. Kelly comes on after 5:30. Gotta love this one. CNN commentator. You know, we know the census was phony. It favored the blue states, just like the election and all this other stuff. This guy, Brad Todd, didn't back up.
One of the big things is it helps decide congressional maps.
Right.
Does this have everything to do with redistricting?
Well, it does. In fact, we know the 2020 census, the errors were almost always to the detriment of red states. Blue states like Rhode Island, we do know that. The Census Bureau's own audit of its work has proven that.
Well, do we know that? Do we know that? Yes, we know that because the Census Bureau own audit showed it. On other election news, Donald J. said he will order voter ID requirement for every vote. Get this done for the 2026 elections. Pronto. Running, you know, those are coming up pretty soon, Donald J. So get it done, son. 1.2 immigrants, illegals, are gone from the U.S. labor market under Trump. I'd say 111%. I might be a little low. Ha ha. Not immigrants, illegals. Get the terminology correct. This is some disheartening news. Leno's Law appears to be going down in flames, where you could have your classic car, and if it was 90 or under, you didn't have to smog it. Well, it seems like the nutcase California legislature is dumping that.
Smog rules for classic cars has fallen short.
Yeah, as Hollywood star power wasn't enough to convince a California legislative committee to pass a measure to allow classic car owners like him to be fully exempt.
This is why we got to have voter ID. We got to straighten out the elections, get the census right, get the vote counts right, get the population right. So maybe we can have some semi fair and honest elections so crap like this is happening. Everybody wants foreign aid gone. Who gets it done? Donald J. 4.9 billion. President Donald J. Trump cancels billions in foreign aid for international organizations. About damn time. Sad news on the table. One killed in a multi-vehicle crash in the 15 freeway, Rverside County, more specifically, Harupa Valley. One person was charged with DUI. The woman killed, I believe, was from Yorba Linda. Sad, 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 sad news happening there in that. We'll get into this with Dr. Kelly, too. The best part of waking up is watching Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. fire the parasites plaguing the Center for Disease Control. A lot of good things happening. We want to focus on the positives, flush out the negatives. So you can, as under Richard Nixon and Trump 1.0, and now Trump 2.0 as president, in the last 50 plus years, the only two presidents that have had real wage growth, which means the dollar you made or the dollar you get for your labor buys more. Every other president, Obama, the Bush brothers, even Reagan and Carter and Ford and Clinton, you all went backwards in purchasing power. It's what they should be teaching you in economics. We'll get more in depth into these and more issues. And I can't wait to have Dr. Kelly on. This one's going to be fun. Yes, it is. One of the great things that we have in store is an optimism on this Labor Day we haven't had at least in 5 years. And I'm going to take the last year COVID, the 4 years, despicable years of Joe Biden, where, as we said, real wage growth went up in Trump 1.0, went down precipitously in Joe Biden's administration. Real wage growth means the dollar you're earning for your labor is going to have more purchasing power, more value. When it doesn't, when it's negative, means As they say, inflation is just a tax, or one of the cruelest taxes. Inflation is stealing more wealth from you because that dollar you buy is worth less. The Joe Biden administration, the Bush brothers, Clinton, Obama, even Reagan and Carter and Ford, the fruits of your labor were worth more than the pay you were getting. So he said in the last 50 plus years, only Nixon and Trump, 1.0 and now 2.0, is the fruits of your labor actually gaining you more worth in your pay without even getting a raise. This is why you see the optimism in the once great Detroit auto worker, the Pittsburgh steel mill workers, the carpenters, the sewer cleaner, the guy patching the pothole in the street. All those that don't get recognized or not famous but make this country work every day by getting up at 4, 5, 6 a.m., grabbing that lunch pail, heading out the door. You know, the lineman, one of the most linemen, commercial fishermen, most dangerous jobs there are. Everyone from the factory to the fields that are putting in that 40, 50, 60 hour a week to make a living. The coal miner, the much maligned, and this breaks my heart, warehouse worker. There are no bad jobs. We don't want these bad jobs. I want to tell you a story about the Harvard toilet cleaner, janitor. Worked 45 years cleaning the toilets, janitor work at Harvard. 50 years something, I don't know. It was a long time. One of the longest ever employees at Harvard University. Used to be, and maybe was, the premier university, not only college in the United States, but the world. So why'd you sit and toil in that every day? Because this is what most people don't know. If you're an employee of Harvard University, doesn't matter if you're cleaning the toilets or you're the head law professor, like Alan Dershowitz was. Your children got an education at Harvard for no cost, for no cost to them. He said, my 5 kids all graduated for Harvard and had a better opportunity than me. So whether it's a waitress that's worked 40 years or the college student waiting those tables to pay that ridiculous tuition, the cops, firefighters, the mechanics, everybody's job is needed and valuable. And one of the very unfortunate things, and one thing that just pisses me off is people that say bad jobs or look down on people or others doing a job they think is beneath them. Again, there is no unnecessary acts of labor. If everybody, as the song says in the Alabama song that we played the intro in, 40-hour week for a living. We're all spokes in a wheel. Hopefully we'll start rowing, getting in the boat and rowing in the same direction. But it pains me to see the stores and stuff that are open today. Labor Day, I mean, there would be like in Moreno Valley or Sunnymead, Edgewater, Moreno. There'd be one gas station open, maybe one place to eat. Most everybody, grocery stores, retail stores, hardware stores, knitting shop, beauty supply, most everybody, most every business closed today. Now most of them are open. Sometimes we just don't take enough time I think, as they say, to wake up and smell the coffee. It's like this story. The family that went up to the San Bernardino Mountains, dumped the cell phones, electronic devices, distractions. So we're going to do it old school. We're going to do it like they did 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. We're actually going to talk to each other, have a conversation, go hiking up in the mountains. I mean, I remember the day, back in the day. If you were a racing fan here in Southern California, I mean, it'd be Friday night at the old Irwindale on River Grade Road. Not the one that just got tore down, the one that got tore down in the late 70s. You'd run Saga Speedway Saturday night, El Cajon down in San Diego on Sunday, and finish up the Orange Show Speedway in San Berdoo on Monday. And I mean, that was the last weekend before school started, instead of starting August 1st or whenever, a month or school started. Almost everybody in the whole nation started school the day after Labor Day, or day or two in this week coming up. We had 3 months off from the first week of June to the first week of September. No school. It was summer vacation. It was 3 freaking months. And I will definitely stack our student achievement rates back then compared to what they got now. We will torch them. So there are a lot of things to look forward to hopefully we'll get back to a time when we do more things together and talk to each other instead of staring at the 3x5 screen. And you can't. One of the things, and I know a lot of people are all upset about the AI thing going on. And, there are legit concerns and there needs to be safeguards. Musk has said it, Sam Altman, a lot of the gurus that are working on this. But it's like everything else. Technology, even though it may replace some jobs and some jobs may go away, it creates opportunities where there were none before. It creates overall more jobs, more opportunities to make money. I go back to the Model T and Henry Ford. Almost all the parts, things, everything was manufactured right there. They assembled the cars right there in Detroit on a line. It took 12 hours for a Model T to go from one end to the other. And even most of the parts, component parts, were built like the engines were built there. In-town transmissions, rear ends, all be brought in, bodywork, frame, and come in. And there was the old deal, the buggy whip, horse and carriage. People were all, oh, we're going to go out of business with the car and we can't have this. Just like that was false with the car. The Model T Ford, the car industry that started basically in the early 1900s, created more jobs and more opportunities. Now you had to have more people drilling for oil so you could build gas and more gas stations. Or you had to have gas stations so people could gas up their car. You needed more mechanics because now it was a little more complicated than a horse and buggy. It's just like a car today. Look at how much stuff, automatic butt wipers, the list goes on. Satellite radios, 152 million channels. Individual adjust temperature from side to side and front to back, and music. And if you got a minivan, you got an entertainment center in the back, and yada, yada, yada. What is there, over 7 miles of wire in a modern car? It's lucky if there was 10 feet in a Model T, and that's if you put some of it in a stretcher to get to 10 feet. You got to have somebody mining the copper and making the wire and then shipping it and going and all that stuff. It's the amount of hours in a car today are probably a gazillion times more than it was back there in 1914, 111 years ago. So don't necessarily cringe at the technology or all. Look at today. Who would have thought of Uber and DoorDash and all that stuff? I mean, the one thing of the cell phone made all that possible. New industry sprung up, apps. 15 years ago, nobody heard of an app. Now everybody's got 10,142, except me. This is what we're talking about, and this is a Fox News article. Tout Trump's worker-first economy and Labor Day with 10 trillion in new investments. 10 trillion. This is inevitably where people get fouled up. You want to hate Trump? Okay, hate Trump all you want. He's got all sorts of, he's got things moving and shaking like they've never moved and shook before. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy. It's why he's championed an agenda that always puts them first. from signing the largest middle class tax cuts in history to securing nearly 10 trillion in new investments to create high-paying jobs in our country. Now I want to know who's against that. America first. Higher paying jobs. And Trump said it a while ago, do you want to buy more Chinese crap so you have 87 mil stuff, more stuff that you're not ever going to use or maybe you used one time? Or you want real value for your dollar, that your dollar actually buys you something of worth? Puts in an investment, allows you to build your dream custom home on a half 1 acre lot. Or 2.5 acres or 10. Or you can have horses. Or ride your motorcycles or quads around on. Have fun. Play a pickup baseball game. Play catch with your kids. Go out in the garage and work on the race car. You're looking at all of the new investments that have come down the pike, will come down. And I'm glad Trump took, well, the last 4 or 5 or 6 days week off. He deserves it. I mean, that dude's went 7 months hard. He's probably been working 20 hours a day almost every day for 7 straight months. So I'm glad he took off since Wednesday, had a great golfing weekend with his family, like the ones up in the San Bernardino Mountains. Hopefully they shut off all the stupid electronic devices. Had fun with family, friends, just having conversations, having a good old time. Because we all know we got much more time to be not here on Earth than we are here on Earth. One of the great things Trump has done too, everybody's, why can't we get rid of foreign aid? Never seems to happen. Trump, 4.9 billion. President Trump cancels billions in foreign aid for international organizations. Almost $5 billion. Gone out the door. Zip-zada. It's maybe fascinating that it's been this guy, the only guy that's actually cut foreign aid in who knows how long. All the pontificators, Obama the great savior, Bill Clinton, George Bush, even Reagan. They never cut foreign aid. Trump says, hey, this is stupid. And most of this was going to screw us over from COVID to our elections to everything else. Yet we just go beyond bonkers, it seems sometimes. And again, we've got the opportunity to get it back finally. Maybe we'll do it. We shouldn't say maybe, we will do it. As they say, failure is not an option. It better not be an option, because I can guarantee you, you're not going to like the result if we do fail at this. Couple of things that are going on in California. No on Prop 50. Stop the Newsomander, the gerrymander, the power grab. Thought it was great this week. I imagine most of you, but 2 flyers came out of no on 50. Getting a lot of support. Charles Munger, Arnold, a lot of diverse dudes and dudesettes are coming out against this. It's one thing we've got to defeat coming up in November. That'll definitely put a crimp on Mr. Stupid's oh, gerrymandering is evil. Vote for my gerrymander, says Gavin Newsom. The other one we played a little bit at the beginning, and I thought this one was going to go through. Jay Leno championed it. Shannon Grove, the senator from up in Bakersfield, wrote the legislation, pushed it through the legislature, California Assembly and Senate. Where if you got a classic car 90 and below, you don't have to smog it, which was supposed to be the original law. I won't bore you. People that got cars of 1990 and older are not driving from Colton to El Segundo to go to work 5 days a week. At best, they're using them like as a third car backup. Most of them are classic cars they take out maybe once in a month to the car show or down to Tuxie's at Rverside or wherever. Our burgers here in Moval. But it died last week in committee, Friday. They killed it in committee. The kooks at the California legislature. Here's the ABC 7 report again.
To relax smog rules for classic cars has fallen short.
Yeah, as Hollywood star power wasn't enough to convince a California legislative committee to pass a measure to allow classic car owners like him to be fully exempt from the state's rigorous smog check requirements. Leno lobbied earlier this year for the Senate bill dubbed Leno's Law. Collector vehicles built in 1975 or earlier are exempt.
So,
once in a lifetime?
There's no way. If it ain't going to get past there, the only way we're going to get some slight sanity in California is we got to start voting them out. Trump came out today, said he was going to sign more legislation to bump all the stupid voting laws, get voter ID back in, get some honest elections, Need to straighten the census out. So we're only counting registered citizens for drawing the districts. Newsom, quit lying. Through your teeth. Texas is under court order to redistrict their congressional seats. California is not. You're going a worse gerrymander than the Citizens Commission gerrymandered. And you know, if it starts, you guys are going to come out, the Democrats are going to come out on the losing end of this. Unless you can spook the spineless, at most times, Republicans who are finally under Trump getting some backbone into fixing this stuff. But the responsibility is ours. We just got a new assembly member to replace Asalia, Natasha Johnson, former councilwoman, mayor of Lake Elsinore. We got a golden opportunity here in Moreno Valley, Paris, a little bit of Riverside, San Jacinto, about a third of Hemet, Nuevo, all that area, to replace Corey Jackson with Ed Delgado in Assembly District 61. And then we'll have a shot to replace, well, Sabrina Cervantes, as I believe, is termed out, so it'll be an open seat for Senate District 31. And we got a chance to flip that. We got to keep Leticia Castillo in 58 and Greg Willis in 47. We got to beat this redistricting. So guys like Calvert and Kevin Kiley and Daryl Issa are still clinging to a few seats, 43-9. It should be like 31-20 or 32-19. If we had fair redistricting right now, it'd probably be about 31-19. It's 43-9 in our congressional reps in California. And the Citizens Committee admitted they were gerrymandering it because we only got 17% Republican representation. They give 40% or close to it of the vote. That's where the numbers come from. So if we had, it'd be like a 30-20 split, give a few, and there's 52 seats in us, so 31-21, give or take a few. You know, on the slow end, we should have 18 Republican congressional seats. We have half of those. If you took the margin of error and saying, okay, and got it down to 18, okay, well, a little bit. We're only half of that. And Newsom wants to thoroughly crush it. So it'll be very interesting. More good news coming out of the courts. Landmark rulings on free political speech. Newsom got crushed twice in the courts. Once against Rumble, once against the Babylon Bee, where he's been trying to censor free political speech. The dictator, democracy. And democracy, the word democracy is another word for dictatorship, totalitarian rule. So democracy means majority rule. That means 50% plus one. That's the way it is. They decide the smarter half of the population, which is a little over 50%, decides the retarded half of the population, which is about 49.6%, are not going to eat anymore unless XX chromosomes are going to die. We'll starve to death. So again, we got to get after it. We have a chance to every 2 years in our California Assembly and our Congress in California. That's 80 seats in California, 52 right now in California on the congressional side. Every 2 years, we have term limits, and we have a vote to put in who we want. You know, most every other office is 4 years, except for U.S. senators, which are 6. Some are term, some have additional term limits. But it's one of the
Hey Roy, I'm on already. Lou is a repeat, so no
Okay.
No Kelly yet.
Okay. Well, just let me know when she's on. She usually calls in right about 5:30, 5:32. So
Okay, I got the
it,
intro ready too. We're gonna play it here. Okay.
you got it. Yeah, we'll see if we can get all this stuff worked out, as Sean said. But we'll get it on this Labor Day. Again, we have a lot more to look forward to, I think, especially
30 seconds.
the Trump election and what's been going on, the 10 trillion in investment, 1.2 illegals out on their own without being deported, and more on the way. We're getting things straightened out. It's going to take a while. Took us many years to get here. It's
All
going
right,
to take a
here we
few.
go. 10 seconds. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid
We'll
program.
be on
Views
the
and
air
claims
here in a
expressed
few
are those of the
seconds.
program
As we
producer
do,
and are
hopefully
not
Dr.
endorsed
Kelly
by this
will
station.
call in
Opinions expressed are not
on
necessarily
that,
those
and
of
we'll
radio
get her
station
thoughts on some of this
KMET,
stuff
its
coming up.
management, employees, or
More and more
affiliates.
on Labor Day. See how that works out. There, I got my batteries changed. Somehow my intro didn't work as long as it used to, but we'll get that worked out. Got a few gremlins, as they say, in the pile, but we'll get them straightened out somehow. There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 in the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the 4-inch AM band, joining our vast video audience, the Evil FB Network, Rumble, X, all that good stuff on this great Labor Day weekend.
Dr. Kelly is with us.
You got it. So we have a lot of things, especially in the last 7 months with the election of Trump. We have a lot of things to be thankful for, a lot of positive signs on the horizon. So, from the family that went up to the San Bernardino Mountains and shut the frickin' phones off, the $10 billion in investment, 10 trillion, excuse me, Trump has brought in, almost 5 billion in foreign aid cut, which no other president has done. Maybe we'll defeat Newsom on the gerrymander. Just stick it up your rear end he's trying to do to us on Prop 50. And a lot of other things on the horizon. But as we usually do on a Monday, we have, as I've determined her, the premier physician in all the world, expert on COVID-19 and just about everything else, Dr. Kelly Victory. Welcome to IE Newswire with Roy.
Hey, Roy, and happy Labor Day. It's not just a Monday, but it's Labor Day. The official beginning of fall in Colorado. I know we technically have 3 more weeks until fall starts, but in Colorado, September 1 is really it. So happy Labor Day.
That's it. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm showing the picture that you posted on the X machine. Absolutely stunning picture and sight of that, of this is America as most of us knew it for 250 years. great scenes with the mountains and the clouds and the horses and the beautiful view of the valley. This is, to me, this is what we need to get back to, Dr. Kelly.
I agree, and it's so easy, Roy, and I fall prey to it. There's so much negative stuff going on, whether it's crime or interest rates or, whatever it is, the injuries from the vaccine, everything that we're mired in, that you really have to remind yourself on a regular basis to stop and smell the roses and to really appreciate what a beautiful country we have. Find some bit of joy, some bit of beauty. I try to do that. I'm fortunate to live in an area of the country that is stunning from a geographic perspective. And so I posted that in hopes that I would bring a little bit of joy to other people in what can be otherwise a very negative world.
Well, I can tell you this, it brought a lot of joy to my heart to see that picture, because I think we're getting back, we're getting that vibe that America first, we're the biggest and the baddest back, led by Trump, with everything that's going on. We kind of rolled through a lot of that on the first deal. This, and I know you've been asking for this a while, I have. Trump put on the X machine today. He's actually questioning Operation Warp Speed, what's going on at the CDC. Why is Pfizer blowing smoke up his ass, yet won't release all these documents of how great the vaccine was and how they did all this stuff? And he's putting the impetus with the Post, I believe it was today, it was either yesterday or today, saying, hey, prove Bobby Kennedy Jr. wrong, or Dr. Kelly, or Roy, or all the Jay Bhattacharya, or all the people that stuck up for this. You're telling me everything was great and hunky-dory and we all did all this. Then he said, release the documents and let's get it out there. He says, I want to know what's going on. This is the first sign I've seen Trump actually questioning, really sincerely, I believe, what went on in the whole COVID crisis. Dr. Kelly.
I agree with you. I think this is a really profound statement from the president because, as you said, it's the first time that where he really does appear to be open to hearing, unfortunately, the harsh reality about these shots and about Operation Warp Speed. I think it's unrealistic for him to expect that Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson are going to release the real data. Of course, they're not being honest. I don't know about you. If you're going to buy a Ford truck, I don't read Ford's reviews of the truck. I'm just saying. Okay.
You're not believing everything in the Ford commercial out there that they, built Ford tough and for all this. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's no different. It's no different with Pfizer and Moderna. Of course, they're not telling him the real data. On top of it, unfortunately, the president was lied to by his top advisors, and it starts with Anthony Fauci. Deborah Birx, Rochelle Walensky, Rick Bright, Robert Redfield, all of them. They were dishonest. They were participant in the corruption and the fraud that's gone on for decades. And the pharmaceutical companies certainly were happy to keep everything hidden as well. I do believe that these posts by the president are incredibly important, however, because it indicates, and I believe he's being honest about it, that he is open to hearing the truth. And that truth is going to come from people like me, like Peter McCullough, like the people on the front line who have treated these patients, who've looked at the data, who've done the studies. These shots, these mRNA shots, were an abject failure. They didn't do the basics. For example, keep people from getting COVID. It didn't stop people from transmitting it to others. And it didn't keep people out of the hospital. We now have a multitude of studies showing that actually the more vaccinated you are for COVID, the more likely you are to contract it. So negative efficacy. And I think if the president is willing now, open to hearing that Unfortunately, you were lied to. This was a disaster. It says to me that he actually is listening to people like Bobby Kennedy Jr. at HHS and saying, realizing that he needs to get his arms around this and maybe get on the other side of this to be on the right side of history. So I think it's a big move. I think it will open the door finally to getting more information out to the public and ultimately to getting the shots off the market.
I hope that's 1000% correct. I'm suspecting it is. For Trump to all of a sudden reverse course, per se, at this time, maybe, and I'm glad he took that vacation or, no public appearances for the, since Wednesday to today. Maybe it's getting his juices back. Sometimes after 7 months of going like almost nonstop, maybe he's actually reflecting on a lot of stuff now that he's, been there back in 7 months and seeing everything. And him saying, hey, it was, and basically the last thing he said, hey, was this thing either a success or failure? I want to know. Again, on this whole COVID thing, he's always kind of defended the shot and Operation Warp Speed and kind of put it out there. Like I said, now he's saying, hey, obviously it seems obvious he's listening now to Jay Bhattacharya and Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Rand Paul and maybe some others in the deal, actually on the inside of his administration, saying, and probably putting in front of him, this is the evidence. And if everything was so hunky-dory great that Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson did, they should be running ads right now saying how great everything is. And, Dr. Kelly Victory doesn't know what she's talking about, yada, yada, yada. But they're not doing that, Dr. Kelly.
Exactly. Why do you think they wanted to keep the data deep-sixed for, decades? Decades they didn't want to have to release this information. People like myself, I got censored. I got kicked off, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, not because I was wrong. I got kicked off because I was right. And they didn't want people to know. So you don't try to shut somebody up just for being wrong. It's when they're right over, the target, you're saying, oh my gosh, this person's, out here speaking truth and we can't have that. So I do believe that the president's open to hearing it. That's very important because, as I said, that is what will allow ultimately the information to get out to the American people. And he is willing to say, wow, turns out I was lied to. Turns out much of the data was fraudulent. Turns out that the pharmaceutical companies lied. And there's no reason that the president should have a deep understanding of the science behind this. So he has to be able to trust those people who are around him. And I think now he has a group of people in Jay Bhattacharya and Marty McCary and those folks, certainly Bobby Kennedy, who are able to present that data to the president in a way that's digestible and where he can save face and say, look, Operation Warp Speed was well-intentioned. The idea was correct, but I was misled by people who told me that this was a good idea, and they misled me about the actual results. And hopefully we'll get that turned around.
I love this one. Picture. It's Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s picture in a Superman outfit superimposed on a Folgers coffee deal where you get the coffee grounds out of, next to a coffee cup, with the bright, this picture like you posted in the background. It says the best part of waking up is watching Secretary Kennedy fire the parasites plaguing the Center for Disease Control. And I 111% agree, Dr. Kelly.
Oh my gosh, it's been so great. It started with he just sort of, said he was going to cut some tens of thousands of jobs from HHS and some portion of them from the CDC. Then he redid ACIP, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, got rid of all 17 of those people who are inbred and in the tank for big pharma and replace them with a lot more thoughtful people. Now he's, people are, jumping ship. It's been awesome. I think they were very smart to have gotten rid of Susan Monarez, who was a PhD, not a physician in the first place, who was running. They appointed her to run the CDC. I'm not sure why. I thought she was a terrible pick. She was a pharma shill from my perspective, and I said so at the time that she was nominated and subsequently confirmed to run the CDC. I think for whatever reason, Bobby Kennedy didn't see her for what she was, and I'm glad that she's gone after I think she was only there for about a month. And quite a few people left also in her wake. A few of them just absolute disasters. They should never have been there, and happy to see that they are out. It will take them a little bit of time, I'm sure, to rebuild a good team there, but Bobby Kennedy will get it done. And meanwhile, the idea that the president has come out and given indication that he is open and willing to hear that his, crown jewel, Operation Warp Speed, might not have been the success that he had hoped it would be, that's really, really powerful. And by the way, really reflective of a leader, somebody who's willing to hear that their pet project, that their, crown jewel wasn't actually a success. That's powerful.
Maybe we will get to some actual indictments, trials, and people getting thrown in jail for the rest of their lives. A lot of them that are involved in this and a lot of the other scandals. I hear Anthony Fauci's hiding out in Italy or some darn place, and a lot of them are just quaking in their boots. It's absolute. I mean, I think it's refreshing. John Bolton said, when all the stuff broke on the stuff with him, he said, man, this stuff is serious. And he, that you didn't hear that kind of talk or this kind of actions in a long time. They thought they had this stuff whipped. They were beyond anybody coming after them. Again, like with this new post on X, with the investigations coming out, with the stuff. I think if we don't get it done this time, I don't know if we'll ever get it done, but I'm more optimistic we'll finally get to the crux of some of these matters and imprison some of the crooks in this deal, Dr. Kelly.
Boy, from your lips to God's ears, Roy, that's certainly what I would like to see. There's nothing that would make President Trump, I think, rescind the auto pen pardons that were granted to people like Anthony Fauci than finding out that he'd been completely lied to. If the president is able to get his arms around the idea that people like Fauci were participant in an absolute fraud. I don't know that he realizes yet, for example, that Deborah Birx came out and admitted in her book what I'd said from day one, which is that social distancing was completely made up. It was a made-up thing. There was nothing scientific about it. And this wasn't just an inconvenience. It wasn't just a nuisance to do social distancing. It destroyed the economy. If President Trump understands one thing, it's he understands business and the economy. He understands that your average, restaurant, bar, hardware store couldn't function if they had to control or decrease their capacity by 50% or limit their hours or whatever it was. And that was all under the guise of, quote, social distancing. You can't have that many people in your bar, whatever. And so I think if the president really is able to look at the data on the shots, look at the data on the lockdowns, look at and understand these people acknowledge that they made it up. Everything from the face masks to social distancing to the need to do a lockdown or school closures, all of those. They've all come out now and said, yeah, well, we actually, knew that face masks wouldn't do anything. I'll tell you right now, the average American should be furious, and hopefully the president will become furious as well, because I think that is what will motivate him to sick, the Pam Bondis and Justice Department on people like Anthony Fauci.
I think it doesn't take a big leap. Social distance, 6 feet apart, mask. Oh, if you go visit grandma, you're gonna kill her and everybody's gonna die. You can't go to the hospital. The whole everything. But I mean, what were they right on? Now, it doesn't take a big leap to think, and with all the evidence we've seen with with the incidence of cancer just seems to be exploding, and, on steroids, it seems like, and all the myocarditis, and young men just dropping dead of all this stuff. And it doesn't take a big leap to figure out, maybe Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson and Fauci and Barrick and the World Health Organization weren't telling us not only not the truth, they were flat lying to us just for the only reason I could see either the power of the almighty dollar or both, Dr. Kelly.
No, I agree. I think that the whole thing really has exposed a really dark, awful underbelly in our government, in our society, and I think that people are understanding now how much, I guess, the lying that really goes on. You can't. Who do you trust now? Certainly not the mainstream media. Who do you trust? Certainly not your average, frankly, physician. I hate to say it, because many of them. Think about this: the American Academy of Pediatrics is pushing still to have these COVID shots on the childhood vaccine schedule, despite the fact that the CDC has now out and said they shouldn't be. So during all of COVID, the American Academy of Pediatrics was saying, listen to the CDC, listen to the CDC, listen to the CDC. Now that the CDC says there's no reason that a healthy child should get this shot, the American Academy of Pediatrics is ticked off. They want to sue the CDC for doing this. And because it's all about money, and it was always about money. The American Academy of Pediatrics makes a lot of money. They take money from Big Pharma, and they don't want to lose that paycheck. And that is what your average American needs to understand and start to say, look, we've torn down the curtain, we've let you behind the curtain. Now you can see exactly who's got your back and who doesn't. And so this is it's an ugly time, but I think it had to happen.
Got about a minute left. Anything else our audience should know about? Go.
No, well, I think this is the big news. Is the president opening the door to hearing the data? I'm hoping that he will put together a commission of some sort, or that Robert Kennedy will suggest to him, let us put together a commission or a task force to present to you the actual data, Mr. President, so that you can understand exactly what happened. I think in many ways he's had his head in the sand on this. I think he wanted to believe that Operation Warp Speed and the big, beautiful shot and all of that was fantastic. He now clearly his understanding that that something is not exactly as he believed it to be, and hopefully they will put together a task force or an advisory committee that can bring the data together, present it to the president in a way that's understandable, and he will come out and say, okay, this was bad. A lot of people have to pay for this, but in the meantime, we're going to get these shots off the market.
Thanks for being on, Dr. Kelly. We'll do this again soon.
Terrific. Thanks.
Dr. Kelly Victory, as we say, saying it only as she can. It's been, again, got a lot of stuff to be thankful and optimistic for on this Labor Day 2025. We'll hit some of the of course, we got the weekend, so we got a lot of local news. Eddie George's Action Eye News posted this breaking news: police standoff at the Wiener Schnitzel in Highland. We'll probably have an update on that tomorrow. On that, our Mimi of the day from George Carlin. Don't teach your children to read, teach them to question what they read. Teach them to question everything. Value of education is not learning of the many facts, but training of the mind to think. From the great philosopher, comedian, George Carlin. Horseback rider dies after being struck by a car in Riverside County, actually in Angela. I think 2 horses also perished in that. Canine Angel from the Hemet Police Department celebrated a birthday. So happy birthday, Canine Angel from the Hemet PD. Enjoy the late sunsets while they last. Daylight savings time is coming on the second earliest date possible in 2025. We voted not to do this in California, and it's still there. The plague is coming to Southern California or California. 5 things to know about the plague after new California infection. Colton cops are again looking for opening that case of the 15 years ago, the 4-year-old boy that was murdered. Seems to have, or possibly allegedly, some connections to a Hemet religious group. Tragic scene in Harupa Valley on the 15. Yorba Linda woman was killed. 2 DUI suspects were arrested. Of that, there was a battle in Rancho Cucamonga between the cops and the firefighters out there on the court. Some results on that maybe tomorrow. 2 of the Turpin attorneys now defending the Haros, Jake and Rebecca, against charges they were murdered their 7-month-old baby Emmanuel Haro. So that seems kind of interesting. They're the same ones keep cropping up. 2 men face theft charges from a Woodcrest semi-trailer hits. Posted in Paris Matters. See what else is up on the hit parade. Movell stumbled across not a gun show, but it seemed like it. Man, they recovered a lot of weapons in a search like that. People in Yucaipa are PO'd about a warehouse that's coming to their town. Again, the family went up to the Berdoo Mountains with no cell phones and no electronics, had conversations, played games, and went hiking. What a concept. Body found inside a U-Haul truck in Riverside. Back in the day, the San Gorgonio Pass Historical Society was some of the good stuff, and the dinosaurs and all that from there. Again, weed sales. In Riverside schools, say it ain't so, but we probably know it is. Claremont man, sibling had long-term ties to that cult that was going on. There's more pictures from Lone Wolf, that tragic Harupa Valley crash. Of course, the Trump saying nothing can stop what's coming. There's a truck that crashed in over on top of cars on the Chino, they're on the 71 in Chino Hills, or other Mimi of the weekend. Be a good boy, Gavin, and fix your state. Please. Well, we're going to have to fix it. Fatal at State and Chambers out there in the Hemet Valley. Lake Elsinore cops are going to have coffee with the cop Friday. We're just about running out of time. If you grew up in Riverside, there's the California Hotel, or the Hotel of California, back in the day. It's something else that goes on. There's mandatory back here in 71 Hours Live. You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Because we're playing the very old intro, outro. Oh, on. Oh, we'll get her fixed. That. Be back here in 71 hours again.
Well, that's what he had for outro music, so I'm not sure what the hell he got that from. But
yeah, that was the old one from the LD days. I ain't heard that in like 5 years, I think.
But anyway.
That was when we first came on because he changed it to "We're Gone" from Montgomery Gentry. I mean, that's old.
Yeah, that
Guess
is
he didn't
old,
even know
old.
we existed back then. I wonder how the hell he found that.
I have no clue.
Let's see if hopefully we'll get it fixed on where I can do it. Yeah, we're going to put it back. We'll
Yeah.
keep working on.
Yeah, we'll see.
The only thing is which I wanted to test too, just in case we need it, like going through that.
Yeah.
But when Kelly comes on, there's like a 3-second delay.
Oh, you didn't hear her? I mean, for 3 seconds or what?
Yeah. Like after I say, "Okay, Dr. Kelly," like when she's on my system, she comes right on. There's
Oh
like
no, yeah. I think that was on her end today. So
it could have been because you can go listen to it, but like, I don't know if you were hearing it, but there was like a two or
it
three.
was a couple seconds, yeah. But I
seconds.
think that was actually on her end today. So she said she's just hung up the phone with Newsmax and she dialed us. So I'm not sure if that made a difference. Also,
well, we'll try it again. Maybe we'll try it with Susan again this way and see if it does it again. Because I want to keep it open in case like my phone system goes down or something, which it has.
Yeah.
And you're working, I can run people through you.
One good thing too is when you play Dr. Kelly on your end, she can't hear like the spots that you play on your end. You know what I mean? When you play them, I notice that she can't hear them. You know what I mean on your end, but she would be able to hear them on our end.
Right.
So
I'll try it again with Susan, Shelley, and Jesse and see if that delay thing. See if because if it shows up on there, then we know it's something between you and me. Then that's going on.
Yeah, but it didn't. It wasn't really that bad though. After
No, it wasn't
that,
bad, but I mean, just people. You know how people are. They get upset if there's 2 or 3 seconds of silence.
Oh yeah, well they can live with it.
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Roy, take it easy.